My name is Riddhi Vyas, and I'm joined by my group mates Ishita, Garima, and Vivek. So, we all are currently pursuing our Masters in Data Analytics at St. Jose State University, and we are having this course of database systems or of for analytics. Sorry. So, as a part of our curriculum, we need to take an interview for an industry expert. So, we are having an industry expert as Deep Patel. So, we'd like to extend a warm welcome to you, Deep. So, he's a data scientist at American Express. So, I'm starting from the question answer part. So, what is your favorite data related project, or you can say a memorable moment from your career?
Sure. So I worked on a lot of projects, but like one of the I would not say it was like it created much impact on like world, but for me it created much impact. So it was one of the project where I implemented a paper regarding differentiable neural computer. So that project actually taught me a lot of things related to like internals of how would a particular model work, because I was trying to replicate a paper by myself, and that taught me a lot of internals and externals of machine learning libraries, how to implement a paper, how to reproduce the results, I would say. So as I said, it's not a big project, but that was a really great kickstart for me.
Yeah, I mean, we also need to publish a paper, inside this curriculum for DB systems. So, yeah, can you please briefly introduce yourself and about your role?
Sure. Yeah. So, like my name is Deep, and I work as a data scientist at American Express. My team usually works on like prospect personalization. So, if anybody like visits American's website, like American Express website, we would be personalizing our web page and different like web related other pages for the each visitor, such that they would see a custom offer and custom product placements and all sorts of things. So our aim is to maximize approvals and encourage visitors to convert as an applicant for MX. So yeah.
So, basically, it's kind of an e-commerce platform, right? That you are working on.
Uh, I would not say it's an e-commerce as such. It is related to credit industry, and it's mostly, I would say, personalization related platform, not
Okay.
e-commerce. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, can you please tell us, like, what are the day-to-day tasks as a data scientist?
Mhm. So as a data scientist, we have to wear multiple hats. I would say, everybody assumes we mostly model, like we create model, right?
Mm.
It's not the only task we do. So we like the main important task is to first work with the data, get the data, ingest the data, right? Monitor the data quality, pre-process it, store it safely, and also like make it usable. Once that happens, we like use that to actually create models. Creating model, I would say, is 20% of our task. After creating, there's a lot of process related to documentation, model monitoring, getting approval from the different committees related to compliance, maintain the documentation, update them regularly, and present that with business people to like to show the impact of the model. How would that drive revenue, how would that increase the conversions, and take constant feedbacks from those business partners to whether there is any change requirement in the use of the model, or whether we want to create a new model as such. So there's a lot of things that we do at daily basis. And yeah.
Yeah, we can see that there are a lot of tasks you are doing. So, as you are managing and working with data, can you please tell us how does data look like?
So for our data, MX,
Yeah.
we deal with lot of different types of data, like different team handles several various kind of data. For example, there is natural language data which is used, like which is generated by customer representative and customer like different customers and other stakeholders, right? There would be a database which would be generated based on the different attributes of our card members applicants. There would be like visitor data, which is which constantly logs every visitor that visit MX, and all their different attributes. So there's various kind of data. The specific data that our team use is mostly visitor data and as their other attributes. It's sort of a tabular data that we use and work with regularly. Yeah.
So we
And
can
rarely,
as
occasionally, we also work with graph related data and all.
Okay, so we can assume that the data you got are whole. I mean, we can say that it's like semi-structured or fully structured, or just a raw data.
Depends. So I would not categorize the data into such parts because like there are lot of database that MX has. Some database consist of like very highly structured data. It is intended to be used by lot of analysts and different business stakeholders, so it has to be clear, right? Clearly structured and should be easy to process. There's other data which is like highly unstructured. It's a kind of log that's generated every second with different use through different user interactions. So we like our team come in between. It's we use structured as well as semi-structured data equally. For example, to give an example, the unstructured data, I would say, would be the visitor data that we regularly deal with. So it logs every visitor that come to MX along with their other attributes, right? And their different activities that they do on MX site. As well as at the same time, we also deal with customer and applicant data, which is highly structured. And for our use case, we would merge them using different ETL pipelines and like other code. And we would finally use that for modeling, analysis, tracking activities.
Oh, nice. So next part will be conducted by my friend Ishita.
Sure.
Hello, Drake. My name is Ashita. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So my question is that you guys have a lot of data and there is a vast amount of data that you deal with every day. How do you store it? How is it stored? How do you manage it? How do you store it? How is it stored?
It depends on the kind of data that we have. For example, there are various teams that would deal with certain kind of data. For example, there would be a team specifically dedicated to handle visitor data. There would be a team specifically dedicated to customer data. Similarly, applicant data and also like data from different countries because MX is like at various many countries. So there would be separate team to handle such data. Um, Primarily, we use our own platforms to store and manage data because in financial and credit industry, data security is very, very important. It like a data breach could jeopardize whole company and customer information. So we have to take data very seriously. So there would be our own platform where data would be stored, managed, and secured.
Okay. What are the tools in technology that you generally use? What are the technology you're dealing with right now?
Sure. For what?
In your day-to-day life while you're working, what are the
Okay.
technologies you're coming across?
Usually like we for data manipulation, processing, storing, we use PySpark or Spark, I would say in general. Uh, Hive for querying for data, for creating like pre-processing and all those pipelines. Hadoop for big data computation, like if you have huge data set to be processed, either we use PySpark or Hadoop, depending on the requirement. For modeling related activities, we would use Python like as our main tool. Along with Python, there would be several libraries such as boosting libraries and all. So we use that. And for model monitoring and all, there are like, not model monitoring, basically model interpretability and all. There is a SHAP library and also like our custom model interpretability libraries that we use. So like these are all sort of tools. From like my perspective, different teams, they use like different set of tools depending on their functionality and their role.
Okay. So how do you decide between star schema or snowflake schema while designing a data warehouse? If you're working with data warehouse, how do you decide between those?
Sure. So like I understand like by snowflake schema, I would understand like the data is highly segregated. I would say like there would be separate tables for different attributes, right? That's what I mean by snowflake. I mean, what based on my understanding, the star schema would be generally like a lot of different attributes are clustered together into a single or like few tables, not highly decentralized as snowflake, right? So that's what my understanding. And again, like depending on this type of data, the schemas would be designed, right, as per the requirements. We usually prefer star schema. There are certain reasons. Uh, Specifically my team, there are certain reasons. So we deal with huge data set, right? So using snowflake schema would be detrimental to our speed because it would require a lot of joins, right? So doing joins with like very huge data set would be slowing down our jobs that we run. So the star schema would be like highly preferred by our team, I would say. There are different teams that would use different type of schema. I'm not sure about those, what do they prefer, but we for sure use star schema. It will also ensure data security and also like less tables to handle, right? So it would be less operational uh, costly, I would say. So yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Deep. Garima will take it forward from here.
sure.
Hello, Deep. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to begin by asking, what do you think is the role of data lakes in modern data architecture, and do they relate to the traditional data warehousing?
Um, I would say again, so everything like there's no, I would say black and white thing, right? There is always a gray area. Depending on the use case, I would say data lakes or data warehouse, whether they are important or not. For example, let's say you have highly unstructured data, right? And you don't know what to do with that data. You would obviously use the data lakes, because currently you don't have any use case and the data is keeps coming on, right? For example, visitor data, right? They have a lot of attributes and those attributes change every time. So we don't know at the point of data ingestion or some like that what to do with the data, right? So we don't structure the data, we just keep logging it. When we want to use it, we would have our pipelines, right? Based on PySpark, Hive, we would interpret, like we would read the data, interpret it, clean it up, structure it, and use it for modeling. So that's one use case for why would we prefer data lakes. But then there are other set of data, like I would say account information or credit card card member information, right? They are already structured and we know like what to do with those data, right? Like where we want to use it for analytics purpose, we want to use it for reporting purpose. So all sort of things we know already, we have a defined use case for that. So we would structure we would create a very structured schema for those type of data set, and therefore we would use a traditional data warehousing techniques, right? Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any example of how organizations are leveraging data warehousing and data laking in their advanced analytics?
Sure, like as I mentioned, right, for our organization specifically, we use data lakes to log fast coming information, for example, visitor information, right, cookie information, everything. Data lakes would be suitable. Data for data warehousing to would be used for like keeping tab on account information or credit card info, right, or card member info. So those will be outsourced to basically data warehousing techniques, and they would be used for various analytics purpose or monitoring purpose, right?
Mm.
So kind of that, yeah. So that's
Okay.
one of the use case.
Okay. So how do you ensure security in maintaining privacy of the data in a warehouse or in your job? And
Sure. So like security, I would say the data security is very much important to financial and credit card organizations
Mhm.
due to a lot of reasons, like for customer safety, for safety of our own company, right? And even to meet the regulations set by government. So these security, I would say, functions is at various level of the organization. So first is like give access to those only who needs, right? Don't give access to everybody. For certain data set, like certain very sensitive data would not be accessed by different, like the for would not be accessed by stakeholders who don't need to use it, right? If you want to use, you have to take permission, you have to request access, you have to give valid reason why you want to use. And once you do that, if there are very highly sensitive data that you are using, you would have to go through various trainings, right, and lot of security procedure to access that. So like these are some examples. I would say there is a lot going on in backend, like in terms of security, but these are some examples, like controlling first of all the access of data. um, you need to be aware, like you are using very sensitive data, so you cannot use it offline or anything. You have to use it in premise or the platforms like on the cloud authorized by the company. So yeah, lot of different I would say controls.
okay. That's it from my side. I think Vivek would like to continue now.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Deep. So how do you assess when to use traditional database and when to use NoSQL database in your day-to-day job?
So usually like usually we use for example, my use case, we would always use SQL like database. I would not say pure SQL, but SQL like. So we store our all the data set in in form of like files on the disk, and we would use Hive to access such database, which is I would say SQL interface, not traditional SQL database. So mostly like big data, like very huge set of data set would be, I think, would find a good use case for NoSQL databases.
Okay. So we have machine learning in the next semester. So could you highlight an industry-specific use case where machine learning has driven some significant value?
So there is a lot of use case, I would say. For example, in our Amex, American Express itself, I would say like we use machine learning to measure your risk level, your uh, different set of like your uh, I would say credit level, like what sort of things can, like how much can you spend, or how much valuable customer would be to our company. So we have a different set of models that runs like every second in real time to measure all these sort of things. They would minimize risk for our company. For example, we would prefer not to onboard a risky person to MX, right, as a card member, in order to in order to secure our company from uh, risky events in future. For example, if you give you card, right, and if you choose to default in future, then it's lost to our company, right? So we would measure it before, and before we apply to our cards, that whether you are risky or not. If you are not, you are approved. If you are, then you are not approved. So this is one set of example that drives immense value, and it's like it creates impacts of billions of dollars for our company because we avoid risk, right? And yeah, so that's one use case. There are multiple, but this is one. One another use case I would say is to ease out customer and customer representative interaction. For example, we have various NLP models running in backend, which would analyze the transcripts, which would analyze the real-time conversations between customer and the representative to drive better conversation. For example, it could measure sentiments, right? It could even it could even generate the best or recommended sentences for customer representative to talk with customer in order to drive higher customer satisfaction, right? So that's one of the thing. We would use AI for compliance. So every time we would every customer representative conversation is bound to compliance limits set by government, right? So we would analyze those conversations through AI. I would say like more specifically language models, whether it's compliant or not. If it's not, then we would take specific steps to prevent it.
Yeah, good. So, what is the most challenging part or task as a data scientist for you?
So there's a lot of different tasks. I would say challenging task. First one is but like if you're given a problem, how would you solve it, right? Like we don't just directly dive into modeling. There would be a problem which we want to solve. So we first want to discuss with our partners, like what are their expectations, right? What are their objectives, like what business value they want to drive, right? And what do we have with ourselves, like what kind of data set we have, and then we finalize the best approach to move forward to, like for best solution to move forward to. Then after that we would do a lot of exploratory data analysis to drive uh, decisions based on like of which data to select, right, which variables to select, I mean which features to select. So all sorts of things. So that's one thing, like first of all targeting a specific problem from data science point of view. So that's most challenging. And once you target, you need to communicate with your business partners in a language that they understand, like their business language, not the scientific, because they would not understand a lot of scientific or machine learning terms. So you have to translate it to their language. So that's one of the difficult part.
No. Okay. What advice would you give to students like us who are aspiring to build a career in data science or data analytics roles?
Sure. I think like the first and foremost advice I would like to give is constantly upskill yourself. Don't stick to like particular technology or technique, right? Because the whole landscape is changing very rapidly. There is a lot of unpredictable events, I would say, or unpredictable inventions or advancements that's happening. You don't know where next 5 or 10 years would be going through, because so that's one thing, right? So it's always better to upskill, always better to learn new things, read a lot of, I would say, if you have time, read a lot of papers. If your role is directly related to that, try doing hands-on stuff. For example, try making some projects. There's a lot of tools available now, right? So the most important thing is how to use them. For example, how would you use large language models for your purpose, right? So do some projects if feasible, if possible, right? Stay connected with people out in your community, and constantly have sense of what's happening in your industry so that you can always be prepared.
I think I'm done with the questions. Do you other people have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, the last question from my side. So, in for DB systems, we are, modeling data, mapping relations between different entities, and by this way, we are kind of design a whole database according to the case study given to us. So, do you do such kind of job as a data scientist? Modeling data and all, creating DBs,
I would
relationship
say like
mapping.
it's a part of the job, but I would say it's also like not the significant part, right? For example, certain tables that we want to use are already there, designed by, I would say, data engineers, right? But then some of the intermediate tables that we sometimes have immediate requirement, those designing would be done by us. But as I said, right, it's not a significant part of our job, but it's still important to know because you don't want to stuck when there's a requirement for it, right? So it's still important.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot for your valuable time and dedicated
Yeah,
time for
no
us.
worries.
So I guess we are done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
once
Deep,
again.
for
Thank
taking
you.
the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.